Hello class, I wanted to talk to you about this week 5 skill building activity. We've really come to an important point in the course. If you haven't noticed, we're halfway through, so that's exciting. And since this is an 8-week class, we are moving at a really fast pace. We've done a lot of work so far. We have a lot to go. But I wanted to kind of put together some things to provide a little bit of context where we are going for these next several weeks. If you think back all the way to the beginning, we started with the basics of looking at literature, of actually analyzing literature. And that was at the very basic foundation of remembering those literary terms that we had learned in previous lives, and reviewing those, and then starting to look at those and look at the text that we were reading. In the first couple weeks of the course, we took those literary terms and started to analyze those short stories using those analytical terms that we have reviewed or relearned, and then really becoming familiar with analyzing the text itself. And then we added in going to the GMC library and looking for credible sources who have already had some critical opinions about the text that we wrote. So that added in that next layer. Okay, so now that we're to the point, we're getting ready to write the research paper. So it's putting all of these things together. Okay, so here in week 5 is where you're going to review what the assignment is going to be for week 7, for the week 7 research paper, and then you're going to start writing that. So the very first thing, anytime you write a research paper, is starting with the topic and the thesis. Okay, so when you're thinking about the topic and the thesis, you're going to be thinking about any of the stories that we read in this class. So everything is going to be contained within English 102. It's not going to be an author that you've already previously read or someone that you like. It's going to be the authors in the text from this course. So I wanted to pull up, I have right here on the screen is the assignment for week 7, but I want you to also look at the actual full assignment for the week 7 research essay. Okay, so of course the purpose is, all of the skills that we have been looking at, and looking at text evidence and looking at critical resources, and being able to put all of these together so you can demonstrate your skills as a writer and a researcher, and most importantly, a critical thinker. Okay, so you're going to be writing an argumentative essay, so it has to have a claim. Okay, and it has to be something somewhat substantial, and it has to be arguable. So if you and I were chatting about it, we would be able to say, yeah, I agree with you, but have you thought about this? Or you could say, you try and change my mind. Here's why I think this is important about this text, because I want to show you a few things that are right in the text, and I want to show you exactly what other people have written about that text. Okay, so that's putting all of those thoughts together. So it's going to be an argument of claim, and you're going to be looking at 2 to 3 of the literary works that have been assigned in this class. The claim should incorporate a specific school of literary theory. Remember, we started talking about that back in week 3. And you're going to support your claim and argument with a well-developed and organized essay, about 1,500 words or more. And you need to look for 3 critical secondary sources. So remember, our primary sources are the texts themselves, so of course that will be included on your works cited page, and I'll talk more about what we're going to be doing with your research and before I end this video. So 3 critical secondary sources. So these are sources that are not the text themselves, but they're going to be written by experts in literature. So you're going to use the literature databases, and those are going to come from the GMC library. We'll talk more about research at the end of this video, and then of course next week you have a big portion of your research. occasionally I get a little bit of pushback. It's like, well, the GMC library may not have what I like. I guarantee that everything that you need is going to be in that library. And one of the reasons that we have you use the GMC library instead of just doing a general Google search is, number one, I already know you know how to use Google. Number two, it really helps you become familiar with the GMC library, because you're going to want to use that for your other subjects, whether it's biology or business or nursing or education. They are going to have databases that are going to support the critical research that you're going to want to do. So that type of research, you don't want to use Google. The next thing about the importance of using the GMC library databases is you have access to things that you would not have access in a general Google search. Because as an institution, we have subscriptions and access to all kinds of academic journals and databases that cannot be accessed by the general public. So that's part of your tuition dollars at work. So hold on your thoughts about the research part. So the part that we're working on for week 5 is really you developing what you're going to be doing with the text that you choose. Okay, so there's a couple different ways that you can tackle this topic. Okay, so any of the things that we read in this class are up for your use in your research paper. So you could use stories that we haven't read yet. You can look in the course schedule and see all of the different things that we're reading. Most students feel comfortable with some of the things that we've already read because we've talked about them in discussion boards, and we've revisited them a number of times. So think about, you're going to choose a topic focusing on at least 2 texts, but no more than 3 by different authors. All of the chosen texts must come from class-assigned literature. And you could also choose a topic focusing on 2 texts, but no more than 3 by the same author. So that first one is you're picking 2 different authors, 2 different texts, and you're going to be writing an argument about those texts. It's not a comparison contrast, because there needs to be an argument about those 2. Or if you want to just stick with the same author, you can pick 2, but no more than 3 of the texts by the same author. Okay, so the very first thing that you're going to want to do, and I know students don't want to do this, but let me tell you a little trick that we've already put into this class. All of these texts are really short. And that's, this is an accelerated class at only 8 weeks, so they're all really short. You definitely have time to go back and reread them. You want to reread them at least 2 to 3 times if you're going to be writing a 7-page, or not necessarily 7-page research paper, but a longer research paper. Okay, so you want to start doing some preliminary research even before you write your topic and your thesis. What is out there that's already been said about these stories. Okay, if you've been reading them, you've been developing some knowledge about that and some criticism about these different stories. So those are your first thing that you can start with. So your thesis has to be argued, and it has to require research. Okay. You can look at something that's new or creative. These stories, have been around for a few decades, so sometimes they can feel a little bit stale. So I encourage you to look at it. You can look for something new or creative, but you want to be able to find the research that's going to support what you're saying. Okay, and remember, you're going to be using literary databases to find that support. You need to be using the GMC library. There's tons of information in there. It's already there. I know that. I've seen it, so it's already there. So I always get 1 or 2 students each term say, well, I can't find anything, and I guarantee you that you can. A lot of times it is your search terms. You can change those. And also something that's given to all students here at GMC, you have a library that loves research, loves helping students, loves being able to direct them in the right way, can recommend different databases. So don't be afraid to reach out to them. That is part of, what your experience is here at GMC. A couple things to avoid. You don't want to have unnecessary plot summary or biographical information. Students sometimes want to kind of build that foundation, but you can already assume that we already know that. That the reader already has a general understanding of what the story is about. So you're going to be looking at that critical analysis. Okay, so let's go back to what we're doing for week 5. Okay, so you're going to choose, and here's one thing I do want to tell you, that this is getting this in place and getting it started. Sometimes I do have students that, like a week or so into this, they're like, I don't know if I really want to do this. I'm not finding exactly what I wanted. I feel like I want to change it a little bit. And you absolutely can. I encourage you to not wait very long to do that, because then you're losing time, because we do only have a couple weeks to work on this assignment. Okay, so you are essentially writing a little mini essay. So this is still MLA formatted, so use all of the formatting for MLA. And so your response should be about 250 to 300 words, which is about 3 to 4 paragraphs. So you need to include the topic and the literary theory, including the authors that you're going to write about, and the theory that you're planning to apply to the literature. Okay. Remember, the theory is the lens that we're looking at. That doesn't necessarily mean that the author had that theory in mind. This is what the readers and the critics are looking at. You need to have some kind of a research question, and that's going to help drive what you're looking for and help drive some of your search terms. You need to have a working thesis statement. It's one sentence, it's one statement, a declarative statement that announces the hypothesis and the purpose of your research. Think about it as it's kind of answering what you've put out as the research question. And you also need to include the works cited entries. Remember, all of the works that we have in there already have the works cited entry in there, and that's the ones that we need to include. So you'll be able to find those. So if you have any questions, please reach out. So again, this is the start of our biggest project of this class. So you want to put some effort into this activity, do a little research, do a little thinking, some brainstorming, and you will do just fine. All right. Well, hope to see you in class this week.